I'm going to talk over the reasons why I think that you are hard stuck when you're climbing in the solo queue. And I'm going to start things off with point number 1. You're not respecting your team composition. Yes, it's solo queue, but guess what? You don't always get to be the jungler. You don't always get to be that ranged attacker, the carry role. Sometimes you need to carry your team as a defender. You need to provide good vision. Even though that you're probably going to be better than your average solo queue teammate, you need to be making sure you're doing that. Now, point number 2 is that you are stacking, and so is your laning partner. You can't afford to go into a lane and both of you be stacking, because you both need to get 3 stacks really to be strong if you're using that item. And if you're both stacking, well, guess what? You both can't do that unless if you win all the farm, and guess what? That's very, very unlikely. So you need to work coordinated in your lane. Guys, we can see what your teammates are using as items. There's absolutely no excuse. And this leads me directly to my next point, is respect being strong early in a lane. Respect not just getting hard dumpstered when you're playing in the lane. If you know a jungle is coming up, or if you suspect the jungle is coming up, back out, okay? That little bit of farm is not worth trying to secure if the enemy jungler just comes up and kills you. Okay, when you are playing in a lane and you're outnumbered, you need to play safe. You can't let the potential loss get compounded by dying. So you can see I'm just spamming, watch out, okay, like please don't die, slow bro. And he won't, he's a pretty good player. And then when the enemies overcommit, which they will get frustrated if you play like that. Typically on the solo queue, okay, I'm not talking about the Southeast Asian finalists, okay? We're not talking about the top pro players. We're talking about the average solo queue player. They're going to get frustrated. They're going to overcommit, and then you pick your time to strike. And that is when you're going to be able to capitalize and win the 3v2 when their jungler backs out and their laners get frustrated that they didn't get enough value. They might even be frustrated at their jungler. So a lot of the points that I'm going to be making in this video really respect your team's team comp. Yes, in solo queue, your team's team comp. If you're playing in Masters and you're looking to climb and get that 1600 badge, or if you're looking to climb and try and get a world ranking, you need to be respecting a team composition. You really, really need to be respecting it. And sometimes that means playing the defender role and just hoping that your teammates can do what they need to do. Now, this isn't always going to happen, but it's going to optimize those odds, because if you queue into a game where the enemy team has got a good team composition, and even if you've got 4 attackers who know how to play the attacker role really well, if you're versing a good team comp where everybody's pretty decent at it, chances are you're not going to be able to win at that RayFight. Okay, chances are that's just not going to happen. So learn how to play each role. Now this brings me pretty much directly into my 4th point, which is I think you're hard stuck because you don't know how to jungle. Now there are going to be games where you need to jungle. Sometimes, and it's quite rare, but sometimes it'll happen where the top lane gets filled, the bottom lane gets filled, and a jungler role needs to be fulfilled. Guess what? That's you. That's gonna have to be you, because if everybody else's bags the lane, then you're gonna have to go into the jungle and do what you can do for your team. Now, I think it's very, very important to be able to learn every role, because if you can jungle and you understand the jungle rotations, it hits directly to my point prior, which is, you know, typically, if a Delphox is in jungle, they're normally at the lane at about the 9-minute 05 mark. So when you're playing in the lane, you know when you should be back on your side of the map, so you're not going to die. Right? So it's just being comfortable in all of these different scenarios. It's super, super important. Now you can see the value here. I love using Blastoise. Look, I've chased the Comfey all the way back to his base, and I won't die here. Because look at how good the Slowbro is. He's helping support, but Blastoise, as soon as he gets in that Rapid Spin Plus, he's just like he's a V8 supercar. He just zooms off, right? He's pretty incredible. Now this brings me to my next point, which is you're probably lacking a little bit of map awareness. Here you can see that there's a top lane and a bottom lane. All of the goal zones are filled. I base then and run straight to the bottom lane, because I know that my team had the top objective under control. I'd pushed their team so far back, and what I'm looking to do is suffocate enemy. Right? I know I'm probably not in the best position to be pushing because I've just used your Ignite move. My team is really, really strong, so I'm looking to see where I can capitalize. It's defend a goal zone, don't throw your lead, okay? Although flex damage is very, very nice, I think you don't need to compound a lead that hard, because the sacrifice is if you die and you give them all the catch-up experience, then they're just right back in the game. And we see that time and time again. You've probably experienced it time and time again. So you just suffocate their farm and don't let them score. Okay, so the map awareness is one thing, but the next thing that this leads into is defend a goal zone, guys. Right, if you're in the lead, maintain your lead. Don't just 5-man go to an objective when there's not even an enemy in sight and leave the top tier, you know, to break. Okay, like that's 80 score just so your team definitely gets the objective. Like, look at this. I can see their team knows that they're not going to be able to get to the bottom goal. So they're playing it smart. They're playing the game of, hey, how about let's leave that bottom objective and let's try and get some score on the top goal. It's like, okay, how about be a little bit aware of that and suffocate them. Don't let them get that score catch-up experience. Don't let them do it. Okay, make sure they're not getting a scrap off you, because every single point of the game, there's a potential for them to be able to make some sort of a comeback experience. And if you can suffocate as much as you possibly can, you're going to find that if you get your lead, like I have in this game, because all of this is stemming from getting your early lead. Be strong early. Right, that's the main thing. If you get a lead early, a lot of these points are going to apply to you. Okay, you can see how desperate the enemy's getting just there. They're throwing your knight moves to try and get some catch-up experience, but ultimately the goal is to play safe, take their farm off them, and don't die, because if you're ahead, you're going to be giving so much catch-up. Now, at this point in the game, all I'm looking to do here is suffocate them a little bit. If they're going to overcommit and take a fight, I know I'm going to be able to win, because they've just used a whole lot of your knight moves. Right, now we've got this objective up here. I have ping to defend the bottom goal zone, just because while we're taking this Regieleki, I'd hate for them to just get a free 80 to 100 score down bottom. Right, so I'm calling retreat because I don't think this is worth pushing, but then I can see how much burst damage the team does. So there it is. We get the team wipe, which is crazy, and the surrender. So we've suffocated them to the point where they just want to quit the game. So you can do that if you follow some of these principles by getting ahead early and maintaining your lead. Although your teammates might throw from time to time, that's okay. You can minimize that effect by not being a thrower yourself. So look at that early lead, and if they were able to get a couple 40s and 80 scores, that scoreline wouldn't be such a big difference, but they were just so far behind. So now I'm going to apply some of these principles here, right? I've got a quick decision to make. I can see that my laners aren't stacking, and I can't play this ranged attacker. I'm loving Venusaur with Solar Beam, but I can't do that. So I'm looking at my team comp. We've got a defender. I'm not going to play a support role because I don't think it's a good idea in solo queue. So I picked the Aegislash role because I want to be a strong laner, and you can argue all you want. Learn how to play Aegislash in lane, and he is strong. I need to get some stacks online because no one else on my team is stacking, so the opportunity is there. And I want to play a role where I'm a little bit of assassin late game, but I also can stay in that shield form. And I've gone through the maps of Aegislash and shield form is the thickest of the thick boys in the entire game. Absolute tank. Respect the boost that's in a shield form, and you're going to be doing amazing things. Now this is a video to help you climb a little bit and explain why you're stuck. I'm just going to reiterate these points. Pick something to help your team comp. Don't stack if your laning partner is also stacking, and respect getting a lead in a lane early. Respect getting that lead and the early objective, right? Play smart. Be careful. Look at the time. Here it's 9:20. I need to make sure I'm not getting caught by their jungler. So is it worth being greedy? Is it worth going for the kill? It's like, no, retreat. Because if their jungler comes down, it's like, let's be smart of the time, right? Let's just be a little bit cautious. Here you can see I'm so tempted to just hard dive on him because I know that if I went in with a crossstrike, I could probably get him. But it's not the smart play. So you always, it's like, look, watch out. We don't know exactly where the jungler is. It seems like he's in top lane, and we're just looking to get a couple stacks, right? Now with the Aegislash, you use that boosted to go towards the farm so you can get away. But unfortunately, that Decidueye was just hard A pressing, and I just wasn't quick enough and didn't store a booster with my iron defense low enough there. So I've got to make sure that I'm able to win my lane. I've got to have map awareness and time awareness especially after the first objective, right? And I also need to make sure that I'm not giving up any catch-up experience. If I get ahead in the game early, I want to suffocate their team, take their farm without pushing stupidly, and I also want to make sure that I'm defending the goal zones when I am in a position to do so, right? That comes with map awareness. And the last point I'm going to touch on in this particular gameplay is the Rayquaza fight and the Rayquaza positioning. You need to learn your role. I've done a video on the Rayquaza positioning, but maybe I need to do another one, right? You need to respect what your role is in the Rayquaza fight, right? If you're playing the defender, you don't get to stand behind the Solar Beam Venusaur. Okay, that's not a thing. You don't get to do that. So here, pretty decent start. Okay, I identified that my jungler wasn't coming back to take the buff, so why would I leave that experience just sitting there? I want to get it back on rotation, so I take it because it gets me on a fast track to get the Aegislash. You're not griefing the jungler if he's not coming back to do it in a solo queue, right? Maybe if you're in a team comp, sure, but if he's not going to go back to do it and he is not looking like any intention, then why would you? Okay, you need to get online as an Aegislash, right? You're not here to throw. Okay, you're here to win, right? Because you can see how powerful he is, right? You spend that time. I look to break. I'm like, no, I want to overcap. Again, that's a video that I've talked about. So I'm not going to break this goal zone here. It's like, look at all this farm. I'd be giving up all this farm if I broke the goal zone. That would just be so crazy. And not only would I be giving up the farm, I'd be giving them free in deities. 3 of them, which I'm not willing to do. So this Decidueye is just going to keep coming back and he's going to keep dying, right? Now we understand that that was probably not a smart play from the Crustal, so I'm looking to identify what I can do there. Now that Delphox has clearly watched a Aegislash combo video because he got out of that pretty damn well. Now here you're going to see why I think Aegislash is just so amazing. Look how deep I've gone, and you use that booster to get away. The focus band starts kicking in, right, and then bang, we've got the wide guard, and look how much healing that you're doing. And then when you go out and you burst damage them, look how much damage that does. And if I was able to get the wide guard off there, I would stay alive some more and probably picked up the kill on Delphox because he's that squishy after getting some boosted HP back and stunning him with the wide guard. So Aegislash incredibly strong early, and arguably am I giving up a bit of catch-up experience there? It was definitely a little bit risky, especially if the Decidueye had have killed me, but he was not going to kill me. Absolutely not. He was, unless if it was fed to him on a plate, that thing is just getting demolished this game. Right? We did not let him get ahead. And here you can see, applying the same principles, my team has done amazing. But at the end of everything, this comes back to team composition. You're going to see everything in our gameplay is coming back to team composition. Okay, super valuable. Please don't disrespect it. It comes at the sacrifice of not playing the character that you feel like playing in the moment, which I get can be a little bit frustrating. But pick something that you're good with, and be good with many things, right? That's why I tell everyone, make sure you can play every role, even if I'm not the best defender, but I'll give it a good crack and I understand the role if the team needs, right? Now here you're going to see the incredible value of an Aegislash right here when we're pushing a Regieleki. Have a look at how deep and how, like, they cannot defend this. I've put my life on the line and one more slash there and they're both dead. So I've put the life on the line to get the value there. The Regieleki goes in and we get some score, so we're getting further ahead on score. Now the only thing I'm thinking here, and hopefully you can see it, is defend some goal zones. Someone go top, someone go bottom. Don't let them get any free score experience. Here you can see I even X-speeded up. Like, guys, this isn't rocket science. This is just understanding the macro of what's going on in a game. They probably don't have that much farm. Okay, look at the map. Their jungler's probably cleaned up a little bit. And then what's their next bet? It's like, okay, we've just killed a couple. We've defended a Regieleki. There's a top tier goal to get, which at the mid game they can be pretty challenging to defend. So they're going to go for the score. Right? There's no objectives, so just have some map awareness and understand where you're meant to be. Here, I'm down here at this objective, but I'm so glad that that Gardevoir is staying up. Right? You look to rip, but obviously you don't just rip in front of a couple of them. Right? You understand that that kind of sucks them in if they're there, and then you just take a fight, especially if you got 2 or 3. But really, really good to see that my Gardevoir stayed in the top lane. I thought that was a very, very top tier play from a solo queue. I thought that was fantastic. And have a look at the value of those boosteds in the shield form. Okay, you can see here, this is just procedural combo at this point. But admittedly, I actually think it's probably a really, really dumb play. I have potentially given them a bit of catch-up experience, which is not a good thing. I should have just played a little safer, defended the goal zone, and continued to suffocate their experience. So probably not the greatest play from me. I should have just accepted 1 kill and backed away rather than going greedy in their jungle. Because look, they managed to get a 40, because if I was alive then, they're not getting that 40 score. So there was a lot more presence for them there, and 40 score might not be a big deal, but honestly it really is. Like, that's a lot of experience, but 40 score is also a lot of pressure. Right? 40 score 3 times in the game is 120 points. If you have a 120 point lead on your enemies at the end of the game, that is massive, massive pressure on them to have to rip the Rayquaza. So just, like, please understand that. And now, although it kind of feels like I might be griefing a jungler there, getting the blue buff as an AG/ late game is like one of the best things you can do. Now let's talk this RayFight position. Here I am giving my team some vision, and I'm just being careful. I can see that the Gardevoir is going to score, so I'm signaling to my team, guys, back out, we don't want to engage a fight, because it's probably not going to be a great idea. So things go a little pear-shaped. I can see that my Crustle goes in and doesn't probably do as well as he could have there, so I've just tried to do as much damage as I can to them and stall quite a bit, because I know that the Gardevoir is going to come in eventually, and Gardevoir has Unite move hopefully, so he can come in and use it. Right, but this is not looking good, okay? This might be a familiar solo queue experience to some of you, but you've got to remember that you have a lead. You don't need to freak out. All you have to do is try and stop them from scoring. You just need to break their Rayquaza shields if they get the Rayquaza, which honestly, they'll likely. We've lost the fight. They had the numbers, so just look to break some shields and stop some scoring. That's honestly, that's the best that you've got. So here I forced this Slowbro, by the looks of it, to run in a bit of an awkward position, and 2 are dead. We've got quite a bit of vision. I'm X-speeding down, just hoping that I can get some experience there, but I've actually honestly played that really, really badly. It's a lot easier said than done. So they've got a lot of score, but our Crustle actually got quite a bit. But again, it's like, don't freak out, just break their shield so they don't get any additional scoring in. Right, that's the best play you can make at this point in time. Now our team's looked to forfeit here, which honestly I'm pretty annoyed at, because I actually don't think we've lost this game. We had such a massive lead, and we did manage to stop a little bit of scoring here. So we're going to see how this one turns out, but I think this is your Rayquaza fight play. It's like, do your best, and honestly your best is not going to be good enough sometimes, because you're going to get the Gardevoirs that decide to go and score a whole bunch of points, and that's going to happen in solo queue. Okay, you're not playing competitively, right? That is going to happen. So you try and mitigate that loss as much as you can. Okay, they've got the Rayquaza. Try and break some Rayquaza shields. But this is all the more reason why you get a lead early. You respect that early lead, and have a look. We've actually still won by like 100 points because we had such a massive lead during the middle of the game. And the team composition, if I didn't pick the AG/, who was able to dive, do burst damage to support the Absol and the Gardevoir damage coming out, and also go into shield form to support the team, I don't think we would have been able to win that game as well as we did.